I ghosted my family and fiancé CT after what my sister did, and I need some advice because I don't know what to do anymore. I was 21 when my fiancé CE John asked me to marry him. He was the absolute light of my life. We had known each other since preschool. Our families were very close, and he would come to have dinner with us daily, and vice versa. He didn't have any siblings, but I had two older sisters, which is important because he was very close to them. We grew up together, and when we started dating, I don't think our parents stopped celebrating for weeks. He helped me deal with a lot of my anxiety, and even when I gained a little weight, my mother berated me, saying he was going to leave me. He told her off and said he loved me for who I was, not for what I looked like, even though he claimed I was the most beautiful girl in the world to him. We were engaged for 6 months before the incident. My middle sister, let's call her Lisa, was a very cold person. She never showed any affection. She only opened up to John, as she said she saw him as a brother. And he also helped her through a lot of her dark times, such as battling addictions and breaking the law. She and I never saw eye to eye. I loved her dearly because she was my sister, but didn't like her as a person. Out of the blue, Lisa told me that she wanted to take me clubbing, as we had never gone together before, and she felt bad that she was so distant from me. I agreed, and that night we went out. Clubbing wasn't really my style, but once I had a few drinks, I loosened up a little and began having fun. The night was going smoothly until Lisa spotted a guy across the room whom she claimed she wanted to climb like a tree. She walked over to him, and within a few minutes, she was back with a sour expression on her face. I asked her what was up, and she said nothing. I kept pressing because I didn't want the night ruined. She then told me the guy didn't want her number, but wanted mine instead. I told her he was a loser, and there were plenty of guys around who would kill to be with a girl like her. She didn't budge, though. She told me she needed to use the restroom and then we would leave. I waited for like an hour. During this time, I was sipping on a lot of different cocktails. I then started feeling really dizzy and lightheaded. I figured I'd just cab it home since Lisa had left. On the way out, I bumped into a friend of Lisa's whom she had briefly dated. He asked me if I needed a hand to my car. I explained I was getting a cab, and he said he was getting ready to leave and we could share one. I told him okay, and we walked out of the club together and into the first cab we saw. I tried to find my phone in my purse, but I felt myself getting dizzier and dizzier. I don't remember what happened next as I blacked out. The next morning, I woke up on a hard sofa, and my head was pounding. When I came to, I realized I was at Lisa's friend's house. My phone was sitting on the glass table in front of me, but it was dead. When he noticed I was awake, he offered some tablets and water and explained that I had passed out in the cab. He didn't know my parents' address, so he just brought me back to his place and laid me on the sofa. I told him I needed to go home, as John would be worried. He called a cab, and I left. When I arrived at my parents' house, my mother, father, Lisa, John and his parents were all standing in the living room. I thought they were worried about me, but the instant I opened my mouth, John asked how I could do this to him. I tried to explain that my phone had died, but he went on screaming about how I could cheat on him. I was baffled. Why would he think that? I tried to explain the night's events, but I kept getting cut off. Lisa then chimed in and said I was lying, and how could I be so heartless to a man who had been there for me through thick and thin? She went on to say I kept flirting with random guys all night, and that when she went to the bathroom, she saw me leave with her friend. I told her what had happened, and she showed me photos on her phone where we were leaving, his hand on my back ushering me outside. Yes, the photo did look horrible, and I was so drunk I didn't even realize his hand was on my back at all. John was so angry, he kept shouting, and his mum and mine were both crying. I then asked Lisa to call her friend, and he would confirm nothing happened, but when she called him, he told a completely different story. He said I begged him to take me back to his place, and when we did, we slept together multiple times. I saw red and started crying and yelling at Lisa because I knew she'd organized this whole thing to make me look bad. I begged John to believe me, but he just shook his head and left. After everyone had cleared out, my mother slapped me across the face and told me to get out. I left and went to a friend's house where I stayed for a few nights. During those nights, I called John, crying and pleading with him to believe me that nothing had happened. But it all fell on deaf ears, as he never returned any of my calls or texts. My mum texted me and told me she was kicking me out and that she couldn't believe I would do such a thing, along with a lot of other hurtful slurs I can't repeat here. She didn't even give me time to get my things as she threw everything out. I was now homeless. None of my family would take me in as they chose John's and my mother's side. I was homeless and single in less than a day and a half. My entire world had been taken away because of Lisa's lies. For weeks I tried everything to get John and my family back. The limit for me was when Christmas time came. I went to my mother's house to try to reconcile. I was sleeping from couch to couch during this time. When I got to my parents' house, I knocked on the door but no one answered. My friend then called me and told me she just saw on Facebook that my family was in another state celebrating Christmas, and they had posted pictures online. Everyone was there, my sisters, parents, grandparents, and even John and his family. When I saw the photos, I couldn't stop crying as they all looked so happy. I cried for days and days before deciding to block them all. I even returned my engagement ring. My friend knew someone a couple of hours away who was looking for some help in his restaurant, and he even had living arrangements above where he worked, so I could get rent at a cheap price and work at the same time. I wanted to start over with my life, as it hurt me that no one took my side, and they all left me to fend for myself. I was able to move quickly and was doing well. The apartment was tiny, and I had to work 10+ hours almost every day, but I was able to save a lot of money. I'm not living in that apartment anymore. I was able to rent a much nicer condo, but I'm still working at the restaurant as an assistant manager now. It has been roughly 2 years since I left, and I have not spoken to any of my family. I had no idea what was going on with them until I got a knock on my door. It was John. I was shocked, to say the least. All these feelings came rushing back, and all I wanted to do was jump into his arms. Then I remembered the pain that I had felt and tried to slam the door in his face, but he stopped it and asked that I let him explain. He said that Lisa had gotten married, and she had confessed that she lied about the situation because she had found someone she loved so much and realized what a horrible thing she had done. I asked him how he found me, and he said my friend told him. My entire family had been trying to get in touch with me and wanted to see me. I told him I needed to see if I wanted to even have them back in my life. He left, and I've been a mess since. I don't know what to do. I know I will never forgive Lisa. She can rot for all I care, but it's hard because of my other family and John. They didn't know she was lying, but I also felt like they abandoned me way too quickly without letting me explain my side. I don't know if I should forgive them. Any advice would be much appreciated. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Now for the type of advice before reading the update. Frankly, I do not think I could forgive your ex-fiancé or your family for abandoning you so quickly based on an incident that didn't even occur. It's all well and good for them to be sorry, but they didn't have to completely reinvent themselves on their own the way you did. I wouldn't be quick to forgive or forget. I'd like to add that the ex-fiancée could have considered that she was taken advantage of and raped when she was drunk or drugged and had no consideration as to whether she was assaulted. They didn't ask if they should go to the hospital to get a rape kit done, along with preventative care for STDs or get tested. I understand emotions can run high, but I bet he knew what kind of person the sister was if he literally helped her through a drug addiction and other issues. Apparently, her husband knows what she did and has been trying to support her, but they've been having a lot of issues. My dad said he couldn't understand why she did what she did, and he regretted not seeing through her lies earlier. He told me that he and my mum were trying to work things out, but that it was difficult because she was still defending Lisa. I told my dad that I needed more time to think about everything, and that I wasn't ready to see my mother or Nikki yet. He understood and said he would respect my decision. We talked a bit more, and he promised to keep in touch and give me the space I needed. After he left, I felt a bit lighter but still very conflicted. I knew I needed to focus on myself and what made me happy. My friends have been an incredible support system through all of this, and I'm grateful for their kindness and understanding. For now, IVJ+MTD decided to keep my distance from my family while I continue to heal. IVJ+TM built a new life for myself. And I don't VJ+TMTT want to jeopardize that by rushing back into relationships that hurt me so deeply. IVDJ+TMDM, taking things one day at a time and trying to stay positive about the future. Thank you again for all the support and advice. It means more to me than I can express. For anyone going through something similar, know that you are stronger than you think, and that it EVJTM's okay to put yourself first. Healing takes time, and it EVJJTM's important to surround yourself with people who truly care about you. After my dad left, he gave me Lisa's husband VJTNM's number. I was nervous and felt sick to my stomach, but I decided to call him. When he picked up, I blurted out everything, which I regretted because I should have eased him into it. He sounded really confused, so I explained the entire situation again, even going into detail about Lisa VJTM's drug and alcohol problems. I expected him to curse me out and defend Lisa, but instead he let out a long sigh. It turned out he had a feeling she was NVJTM, exactly innocent. He revealed that Lisa and his sister had been having problems, and Lisa had been spreading non-stop lies about his sister, causing a huge rift between them. His sister didn't VJTMT even attend their wedding. I told him I was sorry, and that he should make things right with his sister because Lisa was the problem, not her. We spoke a little more before he hung up. IVDJ Termium not entirely sure what Heave DJ Team is going to do with that information, but I hope he cuts his losses and leaves her because he sounded like a really nice person, and Hiv DRTMA's lost his own sister because of Lisa. IVDATMVV decided to reconcile with my dad. My mother has always run the show their entire marriage, so the fact that Hev DJTM's putting his foot down, divorcing her, and going no contact with Lisa shows Heavy JTM's serious about wanting to make amends. I don't VJTM think I will ever reconcile with my mother as she thinks Lisa is a victim in all this, and at this point, I don't VJTMT care to listen to her excuses. If she reaches out and we talk, I will update the post again. As for my ex, I haven't VDJTMT had the time to meet with him and talk. My dad mentioned that my ex wanted to come with him, but he told him I would be too overwhelmed if both were there, and seeing them separately would help me make clear decisions. My dad also mentioned that my ex was arrested for assaulting Lisa VJTM's friend, who lied about the entire situation. He was being charged, but the charges were dropped a few days later. I will update the post again when I have time to speak to my ex. Thank you guys for being so patient, caring, and just amazing. That VJTM's all for today. If you VJTM are enjoying the story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.